Just to mention, I've been told a few times that the order of where the teams are not accurate. They just update the actual units in the teams, which, I mean, okay, I wish they updated the order because that would make it actually make sense, but I reference a lot that this team should be above this team should be above this team, but clearly the orders are out of whack. Again, I don't know why they're out of whack, but yeah, they are. So when I reference that, ignore that. I still feel like my takes in this are true and valid. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter because the units updated in the list are actually like up to date because Chilled Zenkai, blah, 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 all these other units. So the order of them, this guy, this team in Z tier, this team in S, it should be updated. I don't know why they don't update it, but it's not updated. So just the units in the actual teams are updated, right? So remember that when you're watching this because I reference it a lot, and clearly it ain't true. For some reason, it ain't true, which, again, I don't know why you would not fix the order because people won't know what the fuck's going on if they think Sun Family is in Z tier, when in reality it's like tier 1, tier 2, right? So now let's get it. Alright, so in this one, as I mentioned yesterday, we went over the GamePress tier list, and now they've updated the team tier list, right? They said they were going to update it a day later. It is now that day later, and it is updated, so I am curious to see where they put these units. I am curious to see if this will be similar to yesterday, or maybe different, because if you rate units highly in an individual scale, I would think those same units are going to be on the top teams, right, like the Z tier, S tier teams. So let's see if it follows that suit, which is, I mean, in my opinion, what it would follow, usually. So how they have it here, weird it's showing for here, it's actually showing the stars, but the last one didn't, whatever. 1% banner units and EX units are at 9 stars, okay. The Zenkai Fighters from Master Pack are at 14, Zenkai Fighters not from Master Pack and Tutorial are at 9, free-to-play units and free-to-play Zenkais are at 14, Zenkai LFs are at 7, still will never agree with rating them at 7, I know people actually are telling me, and I even called it out yesterday before people even commented it, because I knew people were going to comment it, oh, I don't have Super Vito 7 stars. I don't know what you're doing. You had 2,400 Z power for free because the gift exchange was 600. Then he had his missions, which were 1,800, 2,400 for free. You pull him one time in the last 3 years. Voila, he was 8 star or very next to 9 star because it was on the Goku Vegeta and Sword of Hope Trunks banner. He was there. So yeah, Super Vegito is not an exception. FSK should not be an exception. They should be rated per how many times they've come out and how many times they've been out since then. And then LF, normal LFs are at 6 stars, which, again, you're thinking about it. You're comparing UI Goku, who came out last Black Friday, to, let's say, I mean, 8 Vegeta, who just came out a couple months ago, and they're both at 6 stars. It's like, okay, well, that's weird to compare, right? But it is how they're doing it, so we just gotta take it, because, well, we're looking at it, right? Let's see, this is their #1 team in the game, Saiyans. Now, I am curious to see where LOE falls, where, let's say, because LOE didn't get their buff yet with Revival Frieza, but they're getting it soon. They got Chilled, and they got, you know, Podza recently, kind of recently, but they should be a little bit higher than maybe, like, tier 2 or something, I would hope, right? But let's just check this out. So, Saiyans is their #1 team. Mono Purple is their #1 team, it seems. I believe these aren't in order, like which team is best of which scenario. What the fuck are these ads? Okay. Which team is best for each scenario, right? So it would be Mono Purple here is one of the best 4 Saiyan teams, right? It's not like, okay, this is the distinctual best, hold on a second, team in the game, but it's one of these 4 because it's on a Saiyan roster. So their #1 would be Mono Purple, which, okay, I agree with this entire core. I just don't see Saiyans as the #1 team right now. I think it's a variant of Saiyans, which is Super Saiyans, but this Mono Purple team very much is the top tier Mono Purple team, I would say. I don't think it changes much. You could argue Goku. Honestly, the more and more I see Goku, the more I think he's actually better than Vegeta. But this team just amps so much. If you have like a decent star Goku Vegeta, which again, these guys are rated at 6 stars Goku Vegeta, which is very weird for them. Usually they're rated at 9. This team still works. Then the other setup is Purple Blue, which, again, a very good setup of the Saiyan team. Don't think much changes. in my preference, I would say you run Super Vegito over the Purple Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta on a Purple Blue team more than he's needed in any other scenario, because Super Vegito, I feel like, would offer a little bit more cancellation, because there's a lot of units that are actually decent that can have their buffs canceled that aren't like on these top tier teams. You kind of look at, let's say, I mean, Chilled, for example, who's actually decent. He could have his buffs canceled. You look at Super Vegito himself, who you're going to run into a lot, have his buffs canceled. Maju can have his buffs canceled, right? So all those things can be canceled by Super Vegito's like main ability, and having green or Gogeta's green card and then Super Vegito's main ability that could actually help you out pretty nicely. I would say he's core over the Vegeta there, and Vegeta's just out. Like, you just maybe EX Raditz bench for HP in that scenario, but it's not, you know, it's not anything too distinguishable where it's like, oh my god, this needs to change. Then this third team, I find that interesting that they have Deku. I guess because, yes, Saiyans, while I do value Future Gohan more, this is, again, Saiyans, but I would just call this movies. I wouldn't, like, it's movies and Saiyans, but it seems more distinguished toward movies because of this Deku, with his Z ability literally being movies, right? So I would call this more movies, but again, it's not a bad team. I just consider the other two very much above it. And then this bottom one, one you see a lot here with basically just Goku Vegeta on fusions, right? You have that core, and then you could have the bench be a fusion bench, or it could be a Saiyan bench. It's literally the same exact thing. But I think a fusion bench actually is a little bit better because the extra Z abilities they can offer if you leave your slot the correct unit. But Saiyans, number one Z tier team, I don't feel is true. And going through this, just to look at it quickly, we're not going to look at every single team's, every single, like, thing they put out, but just to look through it quickly so you guys get a glimpse of what we're looking at here. Some things I'm going to disagree with, which we'll go through as we continue, but Saiyans is already something I don't feel is a number one team. Future. Let's look at Future. I don't think Future is top 5, and if it is, it's barely top 5. So that's my take on Future, just pre-looking at this, right? So Future, they have Goku Vegeta, Future Gohan, and Sword Hope Trunks. Now, I do think that actually still is probably the best Future setup. That team definitely fell off when Ultra Gogeta came out, because, I mean, he can nullify endurance for 60 counts at peak. You have a lot of issues with that, with having double endurance units here, right? But I don't think the team is bad. It's just that it's so hard countered. While that team probably is the best, the more consistent feels like the second team, with Zamasu Goku Black instead of Goku Vegeta, just because he has that boost still, Trunks still has the boost of the extra defenses. They're both more meant to be defensive than offensive, right? You look at Trunks, he builds up cut. Zamasu Goku Black literally has cut like 60% early game, but loses it over time. Like, he's meant to be defense. He's a defense type. So I feel like that second team is more consistent, and with, yeah, triple HP bench, it's pretty cancerous. So I actually like that second team more than the first one. But again, the order of where they're listed is not like, okay, this is the best Future setup, this is the second best, this is the third best. It's just different variations of the teams, right? And then that last one is just replacing, if you don't have Goku Vegeta, you use Cell. And then, I mean, that's doable. I would say there's probably a better replacement. Is there, actually? I mean, you could just do what they do sometimes on these lists, where they kind of just put, okay, here's this random unit who doesn't go on the team, but can leader slot, similar to Goku Vegeta here. Maybe you could leader slot Gogeta 4, if maybe you're thinking like that, because, I mean, that's kind of like Zamasu Goku Black, just a more offensive version. And Cell, while he takes a little bit to get going, he's obviously worse than Gogeta 4, right? So that last team is a little bit wonky, because you could just leader slot a better unit, but it's not bad, right? Again, these aren't bad teams, it's just, I don't think they're the cream of the crop, being number 1, number 2, right? They're up there, but they're not there. Now, this gets me confused. Sun Family. Let's look at it. Okay. So, Sun Family. Yeah. I don't know if anyone agrees with this number 1 team. Maybe the number 2. The number 2 team I've actually seen a little bit. It's just mono purple, but, you know, it's Sun Family, right? Because there's a Revival Gohan, and he's not, obviously, Saiyan, so it's more Sun Family, but it's still more mono purple, which should be its own individual thing on this list, which is a Z tier team. But I don't think anyone agrees with that number 1 team. FSK, you can't do it. I can't say it more. He can't do it. He's just not going to be consistent enough. You're not going to have enough. I mean, in reality, people tell me this argument when I talk about Bardock, and I'm going to throw it back at you guys. Who are you going to sack off in a rush? Let's say your Gohan already revived, because, I mean, to be real, Gohan dies in like 2 or 3 cards, even at 6 stars here. He's going to die very quickly to most units in the game because, well, they're just always amped out, always peak damage inflicted on their entry. Revival Gohan will not live a full combo from any Z to S to even tier 1, like high tier 1 unit. Like, in reality, he doesn't, unless obviously they're disadvantaged, which most greens aren't even disadvantaged. I'm looking at you, Gogeta 4, right? So your Revival Gohan's probably going to die, and you're in a scenario, okay, who do I sack off? Revival Gohan, Goku Vegeta, or FSK? I mean, that's not really a toss-up in my head. You sack off FSK in every single spot, because there's always going to be a dominant blue. If it's not Ultra Gogeta, it's going to be Sword of Hope Trunks. If it's not Sword of Hope Trunks, it's going to be, I don't know, not even a dominant blue at this point, Kid Buu, who can still, obviously, solo FSK in a very respectable aspect, on top of cancel his buffs because of his main ability, which Kid Buu's not even relevant, by the way, but you can still solo him, which brings me to that point that FSK should not be on any roster of any Z tier, S tier, tier 1 team. He shouldn't. He's not that guy anymore. He's really just plopped off. He ain't you. He ain't that guy. I'm sorry. Second team, Mono Purple, basically, with the Revival Gohan instead of the Purple Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta. It does work. I've seen it work. Personally, I don't enjoy it that much. Again, my whole point of Revival Gohan was that he dies pretty quickly. Yes, he dies pretty quickly. I used him, I believe, in this last video with the God Goku. And he was dying rather slow, but that was more because my defensive build. If you're building like this, where you have double offense, Z ability from Broly, where it's a Zenkai buff, then you have a single buff from Goten, where it's Blast Attack, then you have Strike Attack and Defense from your Super Saiyan 3 Goku, that's not defense. I built double 50% defenses with an HP bench for Gohan to actually look like a tanky unit. And he was 1 star above what they're rating him here. And he still didn't tank that great. A Gohan is not going to eat a combo. It's just not going to happen. You can build him full defensive. He can't eat more than a full combo from any Z to S tier unit. I feel like this is just an inferior setup to the real Mono Purple setup with Vegeta, if not Goku. It just, this Gohan does not have the durability of what he needs to live, because the whole reason you would bring him is, okay, I can soak up a rush with this guy, and there's not many anti-rival units. Maybe, yes, Gogeta 4, yes, Sword of Hope Trunks, but there's not as many anti-rival as there is anti-endurance, so I can bring this Gohan to be safe. Well, usually he's going to die before he can have the opponent get rushed by him, and it's like, well, now what do I do? Like, I'm fucked here. Now I have to give up one of my great units, and it's probably going to be the Gohan between Super Vegito and Goku Vegeta and Gohan, because, well, he's just the worst one of the 3. Then the last one here, and this is Sun Family. And I find it interesting, because again, this is just movies. Like, what's the distinguished point here where it's from movies to Sun Family? I don't really know, because, I mean, yes, Goku Vegeta are on Sun Family, but they're also on movies. Ultra Vegeta is only on movies. I would think if you have it be Sun Family, that's going to be every single unit is on that tag, but I also agree with the leader update existing. It's like, okay, well, it can't be that, but naming it this, but then it's this, it's just strange. The team is fine, right? It's not the worst, it's not the best, it's okay, it's usable, it's just not as good as the other 2, right? But, I mean, even the first one has its flaws. And then movies, which, it's kind of ironic, because I did look at this one in particular, because I was curious, because I saw Sun Family, I saw movies, I was like, huh, oh wait, this is weird. So on Sun Family, they don't have Future Gohan, but on movies, they have Future Gohan. But, and then, I don't know, I find that funny, because how is Future Gohan not a core on Sun Family, but he's core on a movie setup? I don't know. It just made me laugh. Again, the same exact team here, okay, it's just a repeat. It's, again, not in order of where they're listed of number 1, number 2, number 3. I love that this ad just pops up like 10 years late. Clash of Clans, huh? Have not played that, ever. But the second team, I think that team's fine. That second team's good, yeah. I personally don't think you need the Fat Buu. I think you could rock the EX-14 and be better off, right? Because all 3 of these units are strike base, and 14 is strike attack and defense, 40% at 6 stars, and this is at 9 stars for EXs. So I would say EX-14 would be better, because Fat Buu is double defense. I don't think you need that much defense when you have Goku at bench. You have that HP as well. So I think you could just swap that. But again, that's just the bench unit. It doesn't really matter. The core is fine, right? That second team's obviously the best one. The third team, I don't know. The third team's okay. The first team I'm not going to touch on because, again, that was just the same thing as Sun Family. It's literally the same exact team. Just different bench, right? It's not enough to talk about. That third team, it can work, but your only reliance on damage, at least early game, is Goku Vegeta, which is a fine reliance. I don't think that's a bad thing to have, but if you get caught in a sticky situation, you're either going to have your Gohan revive very quickly, which you probably don't want because he's meant to soak a rush, and a lot of anti-endurance units exist on every card, at least in this meta, so your Gohan could die to a rush. If that's a scenario where you're in, where your Gohan just revived, then okay, well, DKP's rushing me, Full Power Frieza's rushing me, it's like, like, what do I do? Like, Ultra Gogeta's rushing me, he popped his ultimate already, like, what do I do? I already have my Gohan revived, now I'm fucked, and I'm gonna lose Revival Gohan or Future Gohan. And usually you'd sack off Revival Gohan. I think it's a little bit slow. I don't think it's bad. Again, I don't think any of these teams are built badly besides that FSK team. But I just think it's a little bit too slow and too reliant on one unit. You can have that work, unlike, let's say, Super Saiyans, where you had, you know, let's say Bardock, Future Gohan, and Ultra Gogeta, and you kind of have that reliance on Ultra Gogeta just to fucking nuke, and you're, you know, Future Gohan's just meant to support him, your Bardock's meant to support him, and, you know, you just have that guy nuke, and then you kind of have a little bit of survivability with the endurance, but again, you have so much cancellation. It barely works, but it's more consistent because how great Ultra Gogeta is. Goku Vegeta is not Ultra Gogeta level to carry that much load of damage, I feel like. Because again, you can just lose that first life. Yes, you'll get damage for Revival Gohan. He'll do great damage after Revival. But then you're in a spot where it's like, okay, I'm getting rushed. What do I do? Because they probably have an anti-endurance out because they know I'm going to swap to Future Gohan if they don't have one out. And that's like, who do I really give up? Revival Gohan already revived or Future Gohan? I would give up Revival Gohan there because I at least could amp my Goku Vegeta a little bit more after Future Gohan would take some more combos and shit, right? And at least have disruption and all that. It's just a better unit for that spot. So I do think that team's interesting. Now, to go over the tier, Z tier, do I think any of these teams are Z tier? Saiyans, yes, because Mono Purple. Future, I think, is a barely top 5 team. Barely. It could even be considered top 7. I wouldn't argue that. Sun Family, no. The actual teams behind it, it's not really there. Just that Mono Purple setup is inferior to the Saiyan Mono Purple setup. And then movies, those teams are all inferior. So I would say both of those can go down a lot. Then Future can go down to, like, top of S, right? But this S tier got me interested. Seeing GT above Fusions, I hard disagree already, just because Fusions is easily top 5 team in the game. Seeing Hybrids this high got me thinking, because where's Super Saiyans in tier 1? Now, I'm going to look at GT Fusions, Hybrids, and God Key, and I want to compare Hybrids and God Key to Super Saiyans, because I think Super Saiyans is the number 1 team in the game, right? But they have it as tier 1. So I am interested. And just to show, this is updated for the maximum extent, so it's not like, okay, maybe this is like just not updated, he didn't refresh the page or something. Zenkai Chilled is right there. And Zenkai Chilled just happened. He would not be right there if it didn't just happen, right? So just for those wondering. Now, let's look at S tier. Number 1 S tier team would be GT. Alright, let's look upon this here. Now, what do they have? Alright, interesting, interesting. Now, this is exactly why I think Fusions is far superior. Because these cores, I mean, all 3 cores is 2 out of 3 Fusions, given, yes, they're on GT, but on the Fusion setup, they have a much superior option of, let's say, Ultra Gogeta in replacement of Goku Vegeta or Super Saiyan 4 Goku, and then another replacement of Super Vegito instead of Super Saiyan 4 Goku. But the first one, it does work. I don't think the GT bench is really better. I feel like the Fusion bench, if not a Saiyan bench, is just better. I think it's just throwing on the GT tag for at least the team's sake is what they're going for with a GT bench. But the bench-wise, there is a better bench than this GT bench, but that's not the whole argument, right? It's just the core setup. It can work. It works fine. I don't think it's bad. It's just, I think a superior option exists. That's why I don't think GT should be this high. And then the other two, it's the same exact team, but you're swapping your bench for Zenka. Why would you ever? I mean, a better bench than that Vegeta would be the Red GT Goku, because he would do double attack, I believe. GT Vegeta is only a single buff, so that's a weird bench for that, because that's the only difference, right, between number 2 and number 3. Again, GT is just way too inferior to be S tier. I don't think it should even be near any of this. But a lot of these S tier teams should not be an S tier, honestly. Then Fusion Warriors, okay. Okay. Really? Really? They don't have a setup where... Okay, interesting. So the first team... Is that the best Fusion Warrior team? Is any of these the best Fusion Warrior team? I feel like every single Fusion Warrior matchup is Majub, Ultra Gogeta, and Gogeta 4. I don't think I ever see the third one. I don't think I ever see the second one. And the second one and the first one are the same thing. Because when I'm thinking about my Fusion team, and I, had my Fusion team, helped be made by someone that hit number 1 in the game, Piggy, he told me that it's Ultra Gogeta, or rather, what is it? Super Vegito lead, so you can get that EX Gogeta. But it would be Super Vegito, Majub, Gogeta 4, Ultra Gogeta, EX Gogeta, and then Gotenks. That'd be the whole team. And I see nothing similar to that here. And it's a little confusing because the core I only see is Gogeta 4, Majub, and Ultra Gogeta. But that's not a core they have here. And I'm referencing someone that hit number 1 in the game. And it's like, I can't reference someone better because that's number 1 in the game, right? Like, what else could I say? I literally don't know what else to think of. I don't really have an opinion. I'm just struck that the team that I was told is the best Fusion team isn't there. I don't have an opinion. It should be better because, well, a better team exists and they just incorrectly built the team setups for that, just simply enough. Hybrids. It's funny. I want to just meme on hybrids, but I actually think hybrids could work without FSK. It's ironic, truly. Because you look at this and it's like, bro, the amount of you can't bring a red into this game right now that exists. What is that ad? That's funny. The amount of red you can't bring into this game right now that exists is so extremely high. That's why reds are never rated anywhere high on any list. And yet, it just doesn't make sense to me. It just doesn't. Because there's leader units that are just better than FSK could ever be. They don't even have to be a hybrid at that point. They don't. FSK is rated tier 1, right? And only at 7 stars. But he's more value than, like, a leader unit of, I don't even know, of Gogeta 4? Of Ultra Gogeta? Maybe because the hybrid equipment? That's why? But is that really it? Really? It's still giving you 16% pure. You don't need that 24% always 24/7. And then Movies also has pure equipment, and you can just kind of rock that. If not, maybe just kind of switch up the team for more movie-centric, and then you remove Future Gohan. I don't really have a take on this. I just don't understand it is all. Like, it genuinely confuses me when I look at that, because it doesn't make sense. Vegeta family, Vegeta clan, but... Well, look at this. No, actually, I'm not going to look at... I don't even have a reason to. I said God Key, and then we're going to look at Super Saiyans, and I want to see how Super Saiyans is below hybrids and God Key, and in tier 1, right? So, God Key? This is God Key, okay. That confused me. I saw Sword Hope Come on. I went full circus mode yesterday on the tier list. And in reality, maybe I was a little bit harsh, right? Maybe some things were a little bit harsh. I don't disagree with anything I said. Like, I'm not going to, take anything back. But it was a little bit harsh. But, dude, what can I say? Blue Goku? Come on. Sure, the first team. I mean, sure, why not, really? But Blue Goku as a replacement to Sword of Hope? Just run Ultra Gogeta! I don't get it. It doesn't make sense, because they're clearly fine with having a non-God Key as the leader slot unit, right? With Sword of Hope right there. Just run Ultra Gogeta! Run anybody! Blue Goku? He's not good! He's just not good! I don't follow this. He's just not good to run. You can't, he's not really even usable. Maybe if you're like really just I can't even lie. I can't even bullshit a situation where he's usable. He's not usable. Okay. That's better than Super Saiyans. Now let me look at Super Saiyans. Again, I regard this as the best team in the game, undoubtedly. Okay, that second team is the team. Bench-wise, I would change that. I believe I run EX14 for that 50%, but 40% here because they consider it at 9 stars. I believe I run EX14, and I might even run Scatter Vegeta over... Well, no, I don't. No, I just use EX14 over Raditz, which I just go for raw damage, which probably is silly, but that second team, yes, but I don't care about the first team at all. Wait, that first team, how is Future Gohan not above Deadku? Dude, he's rated higher on the tier list. How is Deadku a better unit for the team when Future Gohan is rated higher on the tier list? Do they not coincide? I would hope they coincide. That's why you make a tier list, to coincide with the teams. So, Blue, Purple, Super Saiyans, that is the team they have built. Because if they didn't have it built, firstly, I would just end the video there. But, secondly, if they didn't have it built, you can't, like, rate that team, right? Because they're not considering it if they don't have it built. So, you're telling me this right here, just both of these, right? Because I think it's 2 teams, yeah. Both of these teams are better than Blue, Purple, Super Saiyans? Blue, Purple, Super Saiyans quite literally gets fucked by this team, because Future Gohan, RIP your Endurance, 2 Endurance Nullifiers, 1 for Ultimate, and 1 for the 60 timer counts at peak for Ultra Gogeta. Then Red, well, Ultra Gogeta, green card, FSK cannot one-shot when Ultra Gogeta pops a green card, just not happening. If your FSK even gets that scenario, then you're up to Revival Gohan, who's going to get 1 combo because Super Saiyans does so much damage. Now, I agree Super Saiyans is glass, but it makes every other team it's up against also be glass, because these teams... Do you think this team is tanky? Any of these 3? You think Sword Hope Trunks is going to tank? He ain't going to tank. I'm looking at that bench. That man won't tank that well. You can build him defensively. What's the saying called with the fucking pig? Lipstick a pig all you want. It's still a pig. That's kind of what this is. Blue Goku ain't gonna tank. Goku Vegeta ain't gonna tank. Evolution Blue ain't gonna tank. Gogeta Blue ain't gonna... Nobody on this team gonna tank. And while Super Saiyans are not tanky in themselves, their damage output shits on any damage output from any S tier team here, any Z tier team here, and is probably the number 1. Yes, they do not have the survivability of other teams. I agree with that. But the thing is, neither does Mono Purple. If you look at this number 1 team, this first team they even put, again, it's not considered as their number 1 because it's not in order, but looking at the number 1 team they put here as the number 1 tag of Saiyans, this team also has no durability. They're healing as much as Super Saiyans, right? Goku Vegeta heal basically the same as Ultra Gogeta, if not a little bit more. That's okay, because Super Vegeta is still healing equivalent to another Super Vegeta, right? So you have a little bit more healing on this team, but the difference is Ultra Gogeta has at least a more consistent nullified endurance, with Future Gohan running around everywhere, with Maju running around everywhere. I feel like that counters out the Mono Purple and kind of gives Super Saiyans a better rep. But both teams, if this team is regarded as tag, not even team, tag is regarded as number 1, with this team being the number 1 choice, I guess you'd call it, or in a number 1 choice position, why is Super Saiyans not in the same position? They are quite literally the same exact thing, just 2 different units. It's the same. You have no durability, really, on both teams, but both can do crazy damage output. Quite honestly, Mono Purple does less damage than Super Saiyans. So even in that regard, they're lacking. They're lacking on Endurance Nullification, Mono Purple, and they're lacking on their ability to do damage, comparably to Super Saiyans, right? I don't think that's a miss. I think that's a pretty big hit, actually. Yeah. So why... Again, I don't understand that. Just to look further. LOE Tier 2, huh? Interesting. Well, so, powerful opponent is right above Super Saiyans. This is the last one we'll look at here. Because I really don't know what else to say about this. I just... flabbergasting. What the hell? 8 Vegeta, Cell, and Sword of Hope Trunks is better than Super Saiyans. Yeah, overall, some things are accurate. You know, some team builds they have are accurate. I think the Z tier team builds are actually pretty nice. I don't think they're pretty, you know, out there. I think they're actually pretty good. But then you look at FSK on Sun Family, then you look at FSK as like a main unit on like 2 teams. It's like, then you're looking at this. You're telling me a team with Ape Vegeta is better than Super Saiyans? No team with the red right now is better than Super Saiyans. I can say that with 1000% confidence without any wills against me. I literally cannot understand this. Where this right here is more valued and better than, in their opinion, Super Saiyans. I don't know. I don't know where this comes from. Well, let me know what you guys think of the GamePress team tier list, and I'll see you guys in the next one.